and some people may still come in, but that's fine, they can join in. I'm trying a new mic this week, which I think is better. So hopefully you're finding it clear. With this new online world, I'm just trying to get the right equipment to make it as easy as possible for people and for myself. Good. So lovely to be here with you all again and have a sense of you. That quick poll was quite exciting, just to get a sense of people's level of awareness and so on. And I think I'm about a 7 myself, so that's good. It's not too bad. Room for improvement with half an hour's meditation. And yes, so we are now in the UK heading into week 10 of lockdown. I think it was 9 weeks yesterday. Yesterday evening, Monday night, was when Boris Johnson made his first speech to the nation, saying we're going into lockdown. So yeah, I'm heading into our 10th week. And change is on the horizon. Things may change in the next few weeks, depending on the test that the government's got, but they're obviously thinking it's possible to consider opening up the country more. So of course this is great, really great in many ways. We'll be able to socialize more, go out more, and so on. And it also comes with, it's another change. It's more uncertainty. And as human beings don't find uncertainty very comfortable, we can be quite unnerved by uncertainty. And I listened to a really excellent podcast the other day by Mark Williams, who's one of the leading figures in the mindfulness scene in the UK and a very highly regarded psychologist. Yes, and he was commenting on, you go into lockdown and there's all the disturbance of change, and then now that's become normal, and now we've got coming out of lockdown and there's all the disturbance of change. And actually what I'll do is I'll send Ollie the link for this podcast and he can put it in next week's newsletter. So you can listen to it if you want to. It's very, very good. But yeah, he was really making the point from psychological studies that we don't find change easy. We don't find uncertainty easy. We like we like to know what's coming down the road, even though we never really know. So I thought, anyway, I was thinking, what shall I do tonight? And yeah, we're living in these very strange times. Some of us will be finding it incredibly demanding and stressful, both the lockdown and now the uncertainty and the change. And there's Tonya in New Zealand, and my family are all from New Zealand. So when I talk to them, what they're dealing with is being this bubble at the other end of the world that's now cut off basically from the rest of the world because they've managed to eliminate the coronavirus, but nobody else has. So that's also another interesting challenge. As I said to them, it's a very nice place to be. If you're going to be isolated, New Zealand's a very good place to be isolated. But even that, isn't that interesting? Even that is kind of disturbing, feeling, closed borders and so on. So I thought what we'd do tonight is an opening to goodness meditation. I thought what we'd do is we'd focus on cultivating resilience by attending to things that are pleasant and positive, both in the world outside and within us. There's a lot of research showing that we do have an inbuilt negativity bias. Our primary concern as a species is survival. So we're good at turning things into threat and being hypervigilant around threat. And then we get adrenaline released, cortisol released, and we get edgy and speedy and so on. And we have this negativity bias. There's studies showing that in human beings who haven't done any kind of training, mindfulness or compassion training, we have about 75% of thoughts are negative. Thoughts and emotions are negative. That's 3/4, which I find very, very striking. And I think that this is this negativity bias where we're good at focusing on what's dangerous, what's threatening, what we don't like. And a way of balancing that out is by spending time learning how to pay attention to things that are beautiful, things that are gorgeous in the world around us, and also focusing on our qualities. And certainly in the UK at the moment, there's much that's gorgeous in the world around us. We are having the most amazing spring. And we've also got a bit more time, some of us, where more, well, certainly I'm feeling, I haven't been at home for 10 weeks in an unbroken period for I don't know how long, because I'm often traveling to teach. So I'm noticing the spring flowers, I'm noticing the garden, I'm noticing the sunsets and the dawns and so on in a way that perhaps I don't when I'm traveling around. So that's something you could do in your lives, is spend time dwelling on beauty in the world around us. And it's said that it's good to really dwell, that if we stay with a pleasant experience for at least 5 seconds, then it embeds itself neurologically. It actually affects our brain. Whereas if we just sort of skim over them, then it's a bit like wind blowing through, and it doesn't cause any lasting change. But if we stay with pleasant experience, it causes changes to our brain, away from a threat system to something more balanced, more contented. So we're going to do this meditation, opening to goodness, very similar to the treasure of pleasure that some of you know. So I'll guide it in a way where I'll invite you to be aware of any pleasant sounds. Maybe there's some sounds around you, birds and so on. If there isn't, you can be aware of the silence. If there's unpleasant sound around you, then you can just note that and see if you can let it come and let it go without reacting. We'll look for pleasant sensations in the body, and then we'll also dwell upon our qualities. We've all got qualities, and times like this, we can forget that we've all got qualities, but I'm sure we've all done something kind in one way or another over the last few days. It might be a phone call, something on the internet. If you're living with someone, it might be a cup of tea. It doesn't need to be anything remarkable, but just dwelling upon it can be good. And we're building this muscle of positivity within us. And if you really can't think of anything, then being here is that's a good thing to do. What you've done is you've decided, I'm going to spend this time meditating, looking after my mind, looking after my heart, looking after my body. There's many other things we could be doing with this half hour of our lives, and we're choosing awareness, we're choosing kindness, we're choosing presence. That's an extraordinary thing. So if nothing else, you can just really dwell on, this is what I'm choosing, and feel good about that. Good. So if you get yourselves ready and you can decide what position you want to meditate in, you can do it lying. If that's more comfortable for you, you can do it sitting. You could do it standing. You could even do a walking meditation. Just walk around your room while I'm talking if you'd like to. Feeling into the body. There's just two principles around posture: to be as relaxed as possible and yet alert. Yeah, and within those guidelines, really, there's a lot of flexibility. If you're choosing to sit and you get uncomfortable during the practice, then of course it's fine to move a little bit. You don't need to grit your teeth. What we're really looking for is softness. We're looking for a kind of ease in the body, the mind, and the heart. I often think when we're in a bit of a state, it's like we're bound. Yeah, we've got a tight fist. We're tense in the mind, tense in the heart, tense in the body, and the action that we're doing in all these practices and in this training of mindfulness and compassion is to live with an open hand. So rather than living in a tight, contracted state, we're learning how to live in a much more fluid and open state. And then that really does build resilience and strength, because whatever comes at us, we're not going to contract against it. We just kind of let it flow through us. There's a lovely line in a poem about let life flow through me. And I think that's very beautiful. Okay, so hopefully you've chosen your position now and beginning to settle to your posture. And I've got a poem here, which I really love, from Maitreya Bandhu, who's a poet in London. And it really is about noticing the pleasant side of life, the beautiful side of life. And it's simply called This. That's the title of the poem. There's no law against my listening to this thrush behind the barn. the song so loud it echoes like a bell. Then it's further off, beyond the lawn. Whatever else there is, there's this as well. There's no law against this singing, nesting, I suppose, up in the silver birch, even though we build a common hell, have done, and will make it worse. Whatever else there is, there's this as well. Taking a deep breath in, and then on the out breath, allowing the weight to settle down onto the chair or the floor, into your feet if you're standing or walking. Just do this a few times. Big breath in, big breath out. See if you can allow the out breath flow all the way out without inhibition. And then the in breath to find its own rhythm. So having a sense of settling. So we're letting go of the worries and stresses of the day if we've had some. I'm sure we've all had some stresses during the day. It's part of life. But right here now, let's see if we can imagine it draining away into the earth with each out breath. There's no need to hold on. And being aware of our environment, noticing any sounds. Maybe there's birds around you, or maybe there's silence. I'm noticing I've got a little bit of anxiety because my computer fan's roaring away and I'm using a new very sensitive mic. So if you're wondering what the roaring sound is in the background, it's the computer. Maybe you can't hear it, that will be good. But if you can, just see if you can let it go without getting into a tangle with it. And now let's allow our awareness to drop deep in the body, feeling the points of contact between the body and the floor, the chair, looking for stability. Being aware of breathing in the body. What's it like to let your body be breathed? An effortless flow in and out in its own rhythm. So we're kind of getting out of the way. There's no need to interfere. Feeling breathing in the front of the torso, the back of the torso, the whole back of the body, the sides of the body, the inside and the whole surface. So having a sense of the whole body opening a little bit in all directions on the in-breath and subsiding a little bit in all directions on the out-breath. Making sure that you're including everything in your awareness. If you've got any pain or discomfort, notice the temptation to contract against it, to push it away. As soon as you do this, you've got tension, you've got breath holding most probably. So let's see if we can rest in an inclusive space where everything is welcome, even if it's unpleasant. We don't have to like it, but seeing if we can let it be without contraction. So we're letting go of the impulse of resistance and resting in presence and openness. And staying open to everything, let's go looking in our awareness in the body for anything that you would describe as pleasant. It might be softness in the face, perhaps, soft hands. Maybe there's some rest somewhere in the body. Maybe there's warmth somewhere in the body and you realize, oh, that's pleasant. So what we're learning to do here is to simply notice and attend to the pleasant side of experience, and it can be really subtle, ordinary, the sort of thing you wouldn't even bother noticing. But see what the effect is when you do notice it and you dwell there for a few moments, being careful not to cling onto it. You're letting it be a part of the flow of experience, but you're really attending to it, appreciating it, enjoying it with open hands, metaphorically speaking. So going on a bit of a treasure hunt around the body and seeing what you can find, what you can feel. What happens when you dwell there? You may find that it naturally kind of blossoms and blooms into something more expansive. But the trick is not to grab onto it, but to let it be patient, open to whatever happens. The image I often use is of blowing on the embers of a fire. If you blow too hard, the fire goes out. If you don't blow at all, the fire goes out. But if you attend to the embers very delicately, gently, with presence and attention, then the fire will quite naturally come into life again. So I think when we rest upon something that's got this little flavor of openness, softness in the body, with that quality of awareness, then it may be that something more expansive naturally blooms. It can be really quite fascinating to play around on this edge of effort. If you find you're drifting, you're getting lost, then seeing if you can sharpen your awareness a wee bit, really noticing, really feeling anything pleasant. And if you keep on trying to force things, then what you need to do is relax. And now into this space, let's drop in a reflection. We're going to focus on our own qualities for a moment or two. So recalling something over the last day or two that you're happy about, something that you did for another person. And if you're isolating, it might be something over the phone or the internet, or your pet, or something that you did for yourself. So reflecting on your qualities. One act of kindness, generosity, or connection. And then dwell upon that for a few moments. Doesn't really matter what it was, so don't worry about spending ages choosing the perfect episode. Just choose something quickly that comes to mind and then dwell there. If you really can't think of anything, then seeing if you can feel your commitment to yourself by showing up for this meditation. You've made the time. You've got here. Really celebrate that. Staying in the body, staying with breathing, staying with your qualities. Doesn't have to be anything extraordinary, just some simple, ordinary act of kindness, generosity, maybe making someone a cup of tea. It might be as simple as that. Or giving someone the gift of attention. That's such a precious gift where you listen, you let them in, you let them be, and you're open. And now letting go of any effort whatsoever. Let's just sit here, lie here, rest, breathe. feeling into the weight of the body. I've just spent a few moments now, a couple of minutes. I'm not going to say anything. And let's see what it's like to let go of anything and just be. Not trying to meditate. Just seeing what happens, resting, being for a couple of minutes. And very gently introducing a little bit of movement. Just move the hands and the fingers, the feet and the toes maybe, and seeing if we can keep this openness, this softness with us, not immediately tensing up. Stretching if we want to, opening the eyes. Lovely. Oh, yes. Good. So, yeah, what I suggest you do is in taking this into your life, spending some time dwelling upon beauty and pleasure in the world around you, but also spending some time really bringing to mind your own qualities and paying attention to those, appreciating those, spending some time there. That will have an effect. It will shift some of the default settings in your brain away from the negativity bias to something more balanced. And even if you can't really think of anything, the very moment that you're inviting yourself to consider, what have I done that's kind today or connected? The fact that you're taking that moment is something to celebrate, even if you can't actually think of anything. The fact is, here you are, pausing, stopping, and inviting in that question. So there's always something. There's always something. Excuse me. So let's now do another little poll. That will be quite fun. So at the beginning, for those of you who arrived late, we did a poll about how present we were from 1 to 10, where 1 was not present at all and 10 was extremely present. We had nobody under 5, which I was very impressed by. A lot of 8s, which is very impressive. So now let's do a poll on how kind we're feeling, where 1 is not kind at all and 10 is very, very kind. And let's make it kind towards yourself. How kind are you feeling towards yourself right now, having done that meditation. And maybe let's make this even more interesting. You could put a plus or a minus as to whether you feel more kind. So it might be like 6 plus, which would tell me that it's a 6 and that's better than it was before we started. Yeah, that'll be interesting. We got an 8 plus, a 9 plus, 7 plus, 9 plus. Wow, oh, that's great. We got some 9s. It's not. I don't want to put pressure on anyone who's got a 3. You can still be honest, of course. Good. Well, it looks like the vast majority of you have got more kind than before, so that's really good news. And that's how it works. You know, we dwell on what we dwell on, we become. That's a wonderful saying about the way things work in the human mind. What we dwell on, we become. Yeah. So by dwelling upon these things, we actually become more like that. And by allowing ourselves to loop around and round and round in negative trains, then of course they get reinforced. And just by stopping and pausing and opening to the good, that is enough to bring about change of some sort. And lots of little tiny micro changes will bring about lasting change over time. Very good. So I've got 2 clocks here that are telling me different times. By next week, I'm getting the mic sorted out. So by next week, I might have the clock sorted out. So that's exciting. Good. So goodbye, everybody. Have a good week. And I'll be here, same time, same place next week. And just write some comments if you liked it. It's always nice to see those. And the meditations, the past meditations are all on the Breathworks YouTube channel if you want to look at them at any time. And also I'm leading a weekend retreat, online retreat at the end of June. And it'd be great if any of you want to come on that. And you go to the Breathworks website to find more about that. Yeah, I did an online retreat a few weeks ago and it worked surprisingly well. So be very delighted to have any of you come along if you would like to. Okay, lovely. So let's leave it there and have a lovely evening or day for Tonya down in New Zealand, and see you all next week.